Cats in camo, frozen cats in camo. We're out on the range today to compare two 9mm handguns from the exact same company. Seems kind of weird, they're in competition with themselves, but this is FNH, FN Herstal. They have the FNS9 that was one of our very first handguns we reviewed. I fell in love with it enough that after the review was over, I bought one. I even pulled it out on camera and went, look, I got one. I'm a big believer in their products. We've also done a review on the FNX45, and I got a buddy who wasn't content with that, and he went and found himself an FNX 9mm. And then he loaned it to me so we could compare the two. We got two plates, two little bullseyes, and we're gonna do 8 rounds in each. I'll do the FNS, the striker fired first, the top plate, and then the FNX, the hammer fired, in the lower plate. We ready? All right. The FNS, probably hidden in my camouflage. Not my best showing with this gun. Let's go to the FNX 9mm. And we'll engage the lower target.
Guys, I'm up next. Same song, different verse. We're going to start with the FNS. I was trying to make a smiley face. Can't you see? You know, that's what I was going for, at least.
It's like a hillbilly smiley face. Doesn't have all its teeth.
That's what it's doing.
All right, okay. Let's see if you shoot the X better. I'll bet you like ammo.
You love doing this to me, Dan. You love giving me empty guns. Is there a reason for this?
Yeah, you're safer that way. All right. Loaded. Chambered. Safety off. All right, second course of our FN dinner, the steel challenge. This is going to be pretty basic and simple. What we have behind us, 3 steel targets. We're going to double tap the torso on the left, double tap the orange torso on the right, shoot the hostage taker, not the hostage, and then one more round on each of the torsos because, well, they're still trying to get us. So 8 rounds, 8 shots. First up, the FNS striker fire. Sometimes, despite your best intentions, you're an idiot. I have 8 rounds and I described for you 7 shots. There's supposed to be one more hostage. And there still is. Same scenario with the FNX hammer fire.
Alright guys, my turn to shoot some steel with these FNs over here, and again we're starting with the S, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Didn't really do good with either on this one.
This has bothered me though, since we reviewed the FNS early on, and then we more recently got to review the FNX 9mm, and they're so similar, but in some cases so different. So comparing them side by side was inevitable. And so here we go. We took them out, we shot them, we handled them, we messed with them, we took them apart and cleaned them. Our first category is aesthetics. Comparing the two, they're so similar, obviously. But something about having that hammer there, the safety really doesn't affect me one way or another. Actually, I'd rather just not have it. But I like seeing the hammer on the back of a gun. It just, to me, that it's prettier. It may not be as sleek, but it's like having fins on the back of a car. It's just cool. So for aesthetics, I give it to the X.
I don't really know what to say in this section because I look at these guns and yeah, if you stare at them for a minute, you'll see a safety, you'll see a hammer where you don't see that over here. Who cares? They're 2.6.
They're 2.8 FNs.
They're 2 FNs. And so I can't give one a point because none of them stand out to me.
Category 2, ergonomics, how it feels in your hands. And up close, if you look from the back, the safety actually gets in the way of your right thumb if you're right-handed. If you're a left-handed shooter, since that's also an ambidextrous safety, it's on the other side, it's going to get in the way a little bit of wrapping your thumb around it. And for that reason, you have to modify your grip. It doesn't matter as much with gloves, but empty, open hand, it gets in your way just a little bit and affects your grip. If you're on the FN forums, you'll find a lot of shooters have made that same complaint. So for just ergonomics, for how it feels in your hands, I'm going with the S, the striker fired.
That safety didn't bother me while shooting, or even just while holding it. And again, I've got smaller hands, so I don't necessarily come up that high on it. So I had to give it another tie where they both felt the same to me. The frames are so similar that if you took the top part off, I don't know if you could tell them apart.
Let's talk about shootable. The FNX is hammer fired, and the feel with the trigger is completely different than the striker fired S. And it's hands down more enjoyable for me to shoot the FNX. It's not even close. I enjoy this. It's a good utilitarian pistol, and it's reliable all day long, but doesn't make you just get excited and want to shoot a ton more. And the FNX does. I was astonished at how much I enjoyed shooting it.
I would have to agree where, again, firing them back to back, the FNX was more enjoyable than the FNS. And so I also gave shootability to the X.
Well, let's talk about accuracy. I thought the FNS was an surprisingly accurate gun when I shot it. And now having these two side by side to compare, the FNX is hands down more accurate for me shooting it, where I would take this one to into a self-defense situation or to a shooting competition. Which one are you going to shoot? I would grab the X in a heartbeat. In fact, I would beat you with the other one just to make sure I could. No, that's not true. But more accurate with the X.
This one, the X was way better on accuracy than the S. Just for me shooting it, I had better grouping, I had better knockdowns, more reliable with the X. So another point for the X.
All right, let's talk about point to point. That's transition between targets. And in this case, this was a dead tie because they're the same gun. The slides are the exact same feel, the frame, the grips, they're all the same. And transitioning from target to target didn't make any difference until you pulled the trigger for me, because that's the big difference between these two firearms. So I couldn't give them a score on point to point. It's a tie.
Maybe because this dot is a little brighter or bigger for the front sight here, where it was easier to pick up point to point and moving it and getting it on point and then firing it. It just seemed to move a little bit, just a tiny fraction of a bit easier than the S. So I am going to give a point. I'm going to flick it over to the X.
All right, let's talk about easy. Which gun is easier to clean up? The difference in the two, even though they take down the same way, the X you don't need to pull the trigger to release the slide, and on the S you do. And it sticks a little bit when you're going to take off. So while it's a simple and effective system, it's a little bit more difficult to separate the pieces and to take the slide off. And on that, this is easy enough that I really should have, when we did the initial review, I should have made Allie take this apart just to show everybody how easy it was and how fast and easy it goes back together, where this one doesn't. So this was a definite, if they're side by side and we're racing, actually we could do that, but not today. The X is much easier to take down and clean up.
I would have to agree where it did seem like he could do this with his eyes closed. It seemed smooth, it seemed simple and easy. And so, yeah, I would agree that this one does seem like it would be easier and faster if speed was an issue. If I've got to do this really quick, this one is going to clean faster than that one. So another point for the X.
All right, well, let's talk about cheap, the price. And this one's a tie because they retail for the same. I believe they're both.
You can't really compete with that.
$5.99, and depending on where you go, you can get them for $5.69 or $5.49. Sometimes at gun shows and at good gun broker prices. But they're the same price, so you can just kind of, ta-da! Here's one, here's the other.
When it comes down to like the generic in the middle, the average, what most people charge, what the market retail prices, the base basically, it does. You can't really go anywhere from there. I mean, yeah, again, you could go in the comments, well, I got this one for cheaper. Okay, great, good for you, but
we could have gone on just on availability.
Yeah.
Because the S is pretty common, you can find it anywhere, and sometimes it's harder to find the FNX 9. But we didn't.
So let's see what the totals are.
All right, out of 7 categories, I had 2 that you couldn't vote on because they were the same price and point to point. So of the 5 that I could, this was clear, 4-1 for the FNX. As much as I like the FNS, I like the FNX better.
Even though we had some ties where no points were allotted, I had 3 ties actually. So there was only 4 points that could be allotted, and every single one of them went to the X. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. I think it was fairly obvious who the winner of the day was. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. And if you enjoyed this special Versus episode, point those crosshairs to the like button down below and let us know if there's any other Versus that you'd like to see. And stay tuned because you know more reviews are coming soon. See you then.